Hi and welcome to a new video. Today's topic is Lord of the Rings cards that I think are somewhat playable in Modern. Little disclaimer first, my guide for humans is online on Patreon completely for free, so check it out. The video guide is also coming to the channel, so stay tuned for that. This type of video is something that I want to bring a bit more often to the channel, so give me feedbacks of any kind. For today's video, I want to keep things short, so feel free to pause the video to read the effects of the cards. I'm not going to read every single effect of every single cards I'm showing, so feel free to pause and come back when you are done. First card on my list is Boromir, Warden of the Tower. I think that this card is pretty good in human. It's a 3/3 for 3 mana, so it's already pretty good. It's another 8-piece for any Cascade decks, any elementals, so no Fury, no Solitudes allowed, something like that. And it's also pretty good against mass removal spells. So I think I'm going to try this card at least in mono white humans. Flowering of the White Tree. So I'm in love with anthems from when I was playing Orzhov tokens back in the day. So I think that this card is somewhat best anthems so far. It's just a good card. It's pretty synergic with cards like Adeline and such. So I think that this card could also go in some aggro decks, basic white weenies, but also in some legendary shells. There are a lot of synergy cards for legendaries. So I think I'm going to try both in human shells or white weenie shells and in Boros legends of some sort. For Genyu, I think that this card is just nuts in Hammer. I think everyone is going to try at least 1 or 2 copies in the main board of Hammer. There's not much to say aside that you should ignore the first effect of this card. It's not that good. I mean, it could be good, but you shouldn't be playing around that effect. I think that just it's a good card for the second and the third effect. In Hammer for sure, but maybe in other shells too. Reprieve, there's not much to say about this card. It's just a good remand, and it's white, so I love white cards, you know that. I'm going to try it in some sideboard. It's pretty good against Living End and such, and I think that also control decks are going to play Reprieve. I think that this card is just pretty good, right? Samwise Genji, so there's a lot of talking about this card. It's just a good combo card. You can combo it with Cauldron Familiar plus any sacrifice outlet and you just win the game basically. So the only problem with this card is that there is already another creature-based combo deck that's Yawgmoth. And so is this card good? The only thing that I can say is that if the shell around Samwise is better than the shell around Yawgmoth, probably Samwise is going to be pretty popular. But it only depends about the other cards that you're going to pair with Samwise. So we just need to wait and see how the combo players are going to end up with builds, different builds and such. Rosie, Cotton of South Lane, it's just a good card with Samwise. And it's also a good card alone in shells like Elliot Company and such. It's another combo outlet, so I think that this card could see some play too. Another Sam now, Samwise the Stout-Hearted. I like this card a lot. It can bring back any Solitude, any Ghost Quarter, anything like that. And it's a good blocker, a 2/1 flash for 2 mana. It's just pretty good. I'm going to try in a lot of different shells. I think that at least 2 of it's pretty good. It's a legendary, so more legendary theme around here. I like this card. So Council's Deliberation is something really interesting. For 2 mana, it's not great. You just draw 1 and that's it. But if you manage to surveil it away or something like that, with DRC, Consider, and such, you just need to try to freely draw 1, and it's crazy good. I think in decks like Storm and such, it's at least going to be tried. I like this card. It's pretty interesting, but you need something to activate it. So Stern Scolding, I like this card a lot. I mean, for 1 mana, you get to counter a Grief, a Solitude, and it's just pretty interesting. I mean, for 1 mana, all those things are just crazy good. You can just keep up 1 mana, they go Grief, you go Counterspell, and that's it. You solved a pretty tough spot, and you're free to go. You can go Shredder turn 2 with Bubble, and you keep all your cards. So I don't think that's much to say about this card. Most of the top creatures have 2 power or 2 toughness. So yeah, this is a pretty good counterspell. Orcish Bowmaster is another interesting creature. So I don't think that in Modern it's going to be as strong as in Legacy. We don't have Brainstorms and such, but having a 1/1 with another 1/1 that pings 1 every time it enters the battlefield and the opponent draws 1 more card, it's just good, right? Flash 2. I think that this card is going to be tried in some shells. I think I'm going to try it in Death Shadow and such, so I like this card. Cast into the Fire. So having an exile effect on red is just good. I think that this card is going to be played in something like Mono Red Moon Obosh or something like that. And it's also pretty good in Pauper, obviously. You need exile effect for lands there, so it's pretty good. But being able to deal with Kaldra for 2 mana, it's just a good card, I think. And for a common, it's pretty over the top. So I'm going to talk only about this one from this cycle for one simple reason. I think that all these cards, aside from the blue one that it's just bad, are going to, could be played in Living End. The problem is that cycling for a mountain is not great, but this is the best body, because a 6/4 trample that gives trample to another creature that you brought in with Living End is just great. The green one is a bad body, so I don't like it. I'm not considering it for Living End. But think about Jan Living End playing Oliphant and something like, I don't know, the old Cyclers and maybe the new Troll, this black cycling one. I think that this is pretty interesting. Those are good cards. You could just cycle it, get a basic out of Blood Moon, and you're good to go. Moria Marauder. So I'm not sure about this one. It's a pretty good card overall, but Goblins already have a lot of exiling from the top effects, so maybe it's just an overkill on that side. I think that Goblin players should at least try 1 or 2 copies in the main board. It's still a pretty good card. I mean, you just need a lore to deal 4 damage every turn, drawing a bunch of cards and such. So I think people should try this. Delighted Halfling, just a great card. I mean, a mana dork with a Cavern of Souls ability for legendaries is just great. I think that this card is going to be played obviously in Yawgmoth. You don't have access to Cavern of Souls, so you need something else, and this is what you're looking for. Playing these cards means that your Yawgmoth, your Grease are just going to resolve, so amazing, right? Aragorn the Uniter. Not sure about this one, but it's kind of cool, right? I mean, you could go 4 mana, turn 4, play Aragorn, turn 5, you go Omnath, gain a bunch of mana, activate all the effects from Aragorn, and then play something like an Elish Norn. I don't know. It's just crazy good, but maybe it's just an overkill for those kind of decks. I don't know. It's still a 5/5 for 4 mana, and you could just play something like Mono Red Aragorn, where you shoot things out of Aragorn just out of nowhere. I think that this card is somewhat cool. Arwen Mortal Queen. So I'm not a huge fan of this card, but everyone is crazy about it in company shells like Elliot Company and such. So I think it's somewhat playable and people should try it. Not sure about this one though. Flame of Honor. So, Snapcaster Mage, right? You want this with Snapcaster, the best wizard we have in Modern. It's still a pretty good card overall on its own. Draw 2, destroy target artifact, or deal 5 damage to a creature. 5 damage are a lot of damage for 3 mana. So I like this card. I like this card a lot. Mary, Esquire of Rohan. So I want this card to be good, really badly. But I'm not sure about it. I mean, you could go Ragavan or Kithion or anything like that into turn 2, marry, draw 1, gain a lot of advantage. I'm going to try a Boros Legend theme deck with Mox Ember, maybe Ethervial 2, and all these cool legends. Let's see how it goes. Pippin, Guard of the Citadel. I love this card too. I mean, all these Halfling are pretty good. And this is just a giver of runes, a bit more aggressive. It has vigilance, so it can keep attacking while protecting other stuff. And it's legendary too. The other problem is that it's on Azorius, so you need a shell built in a certain way to make it work. Handreal, Flame of the West. Not sure. This is a sword of Aragorn and the company, something like that, but you get spirits, pretty good, +3/+1. Not sure if it's better than any other sword, so I'm still going to try it. Not sure though. Glammed Rings. So, another cool sword. I think that in some sort of Jeskai Esper Stoneforge package, you could play this. I mean, lots of cantrips, lots of removals and such, and then you play this. You equip it to something like a Snapcaster Mage or anything like that. You got a big beater and you can loop some cantrips and such. So I like this card. And I think I'm going to try some Stoneforge controlling mid-range deck. Here's my favorite card from the set, Frodo Germindiro. Just a pretty good card overall, a pretty good bear. And you want to play swords? You want someone to bring those swords to the fight, and here's the one for you. It's just pretty good, I think. It's immune to any bolt, annul it during your turn, so you can just play a sword. Or, you could play a sword and Violin Frodo, equip it to the sword, and it's immune. You cannot lose the equip effect. So, I like this card in Boros shells, like the one with Stoneforge Mystic, Blood Moon, and Ephemerate effects, something like that. Cool thing that it doesn't work with Hammer. I'm a huge fan of that. You cannot talk about Frodo without talking about the One Ring though. One Ring is a pretty cool card, pretty cool design. I think that this card is going to see a lot of play in Tron or any Prison's lower deck where you want to draw cards and such. So you could also try to loop the One Ring to become immune to everything. I like this. And it's likely to see a lot of play. Palantir. So this became a bit of a meme in my team. Someone of us think that this card is not, someone think that this card is just trash. I'm somewhat in the middle. I'm a fan of this effect, but you need the right deck to play it and to win consistently. I kind of want to try it in Living End as a side plan from the sideboard. You bring this in, so any choice your opponent takes is not that good. I mean, it's good for you, obviously. Drawing one or taking a lot of damage and milling one card, obviously, is pretty good if you're playing Living End. So I think that this is a pretty good sideboard plan against the Fairies, Running Magistrate, and all those 8 pieces. Last two of the list are the 2 best legendary lands, I think, from the set. The first one is the one that I like the most, Minas Tirith. It's a pretty cool legendary themed card once again. You are probably playing somewhat of a legendary aggro deck and you want to draw cards. So Minas Tirith is the right land for you. So Rivendell, it's another one. In any Azorius legendary shell you want to scry to set up your next turns, while you maybe have another vial to play your creature. So for 2 mana, scry 2 is pretty good. And that's the list for you. Let me know in the comments if you think that some of these cards are just too bad, or if I missed some of the best cards from the set. In the next few weeks, I'm going to try out a bunch of these cards and try to understand which of these cards are actually good. So stay tuned on the channel for more leaks, for more content like this, and have a nice day. Thanks for tuning in.